Just a heads up before this video starts, this video is a lot about me as a two-player. So most of what I'm going to be talking about is my experience as a player, but also it talks about the future of two-player and what I think about it. Anyways, with that, please enjoy the video. What's up guys, it's FireXY, your absolute favorite Geometry Dash player of all time. So with the recent activity in the two-player scene in Geometry Dash that includes myself, I would like to go over some things, some ideas I have about it. This video isn't scripted, I'm kind of just speaking my mind on a bunch of different talking points that I've written down, to be honest. But I think all these points are important to talk about in terms of the future of the game and where we could go from here. If that sounds a little confusing, just bear with me, we'll start from the beginning real quick. I'll start off with this. Where has two-player been in all these past years? I mean, originally we started with things like Duelo Maestro, and that was like the big two-player level that everybody would play. But honestly, since release, two-player hasn't gotten too much attention. That was until like Codependence came out, I'd say. Because when Codependence came out, that was like a huge thing. A bunch of top players were playing that level. Like a bunch of them would do a meetup or something, and then that would be the level for them to beat because that was the hardest. But I mean, generally, I'd say that two-player hasn't really ever caught too much steam. Not as much steam, not nearly as much steam as just solo play has. So throughout all this time, two-player hasn't been getting much attention, and it's been applied in some very cool levels that have gotten a lot of attention. But as a game mode itself, it hasn't got too much behind it. I know that was a very brief look back on history, but to be honest, I can't really think of many significant two-player levels that other people actually remember. Like, all they really think about is like Duelo Maestro and maybe some remakes of that, and then like Codependence is a big one. You could also think of something like Mio and Machine Gang, but even then, I don't think that was nearly as huge as Codependence. And in all honesty, nobody was really making any two-player levels until it re-emerged. And that is my next point. Why was there a re-emergence of two-player in such a big way? I mean, it wasn't that big, but if you look at the extremes that have been made more recently, you'll see a little bit more frequency in the two-player levels being made. And the big reason for that was because of the two-player contest held by Leah and Gecko. That contest, it had a prize for the levels that were highly ranked in them. All I know is that a bunch of people entered, and it honestly gained a lot of steam, which led to a lot of two-player levels being created. Things like Doppler, like Duelist, and like UNB Crusher, from what I know. Obviously there's a lot more than that, but those were the ones that I can think of from the top of my head. And from there, since all those levels were made, that was, like I just said, UNB Crusher was made, and I was actually involved in the development of that level. I mean, if you're watching this, you probably already know that since it kind of blew up, but I kind of want to go more in depth to how all that even happened because it's really interesting actually. So basically, one day Draconics found the video to UNB Crusher, the layout, and in the description of that video, it's like, oh, we need play testers, we need people to help on the level. If you're interested, DM me. And Draconics taking initiative and asked me about it. We were both interested in potentially verifying, help play testing this level. So he DM'd akunakun and we got to work on it. So we helped a decent part in play testing. We weren't like the biggest helper in play testing, but we still did our part. And as time went on, we were like one of the few groups that were even in there that were like eligible to verify it at all. To be honest, if the level stayed in the state that it was on the original layout, that would have been like easily the hardest two-player, like by far. It's hard to quantify it, but basically the layout was insanely difficult to the point where probably beating a two-player was extended list worthy. Maybe it would have definitely gapped like Codependence in terms of beating it with two people, and beating it solo would have been a whole nother thing. But it was obviously nerfed down because it was completely ridiculous, to be honest. And from there was a bunch of changes and stuff that we all put together and helped with. And eventually, after grinding for a long time, Akun finally finished the decoration and everything. But by that point, we were already very close to the deadline for the competition, so it was kind of getting scary on whether we actually finished the level in time or not. If you want my opinion on it, there definitely could have been better coordination on when we're getting things done, how we're getting it done. Either way, the decoration was finished, and we had some little tweaks that we made afterwards. But eventually, it was down to me and Draconics Draconics and another group of players who were the potential verifiers. Now, I'm not sure if I've talked about it on this channel or not, but there was actually a version of UNB Crusher that was so heavily nerfed that it could potentially just like be easier than Meme Machine Gang. Like, it was probably a little harder, but it was so nerfed that like it was kind of sad. It was genuinely just sad. And the reason that even happened is because on like the final day we were able to get together and try to verify the level, and we grinded it for like 12 hours and we still weren't able to get it done. And I couldn't just want it out and want it done in time, so we had to try and nerf it down. But by the time we even nerfed it that far, we were just so tired and it wasn't even possible for us to verify that version. So by then Akun texted Leah from what I know, and we got a little extension, which is valid because the other group of players that were helping us verify could have gotten it done, but they weren't able to because of the war. So it's not like we just used the war as an excuse or anything. Anyways, after that, we were able to get back together the next day after actually sleeping. And since we were rested and we actually got some muscle memory, some sleep buff, we were able to finish and verify the balanced version that we had set out to be in originally, which wasn't the original layout that was completely unnerfed. There were still like tons of nerfs, of course, but it wasn't so heavily nerfed that was Meme Machine Gang hard. The level is still by far the hardest 2-player level to be beaten.
No, this is home at this point. Home of the UNB Crusher.
Yes. I'm gonna get a booger. I'm gonna pick one.
What the fuck were you trying to say? Now, because it was made by akunakun, it obviously got a lot of attention. Me and Draconics had some connections. We were able to get the word out on Dashword that we had just beaten the hardest 2-player level in Geometry Dash. And eventually that just completely blew up and it was spread like everywhere. Like a bunch of showcase channels were covering it and a bunch of shorts creators also covered it. Basically, word on the street was this was the hardest 2-player level to be beaten. Whether it was with 2 people, but if it was being solo, it would easily be the hardest still. And that attention reflected on me a bit because that verification video, the one I posted for the level, was like one of the first looks at the level being beaten, especially since the only things that we had before was the layout and like some small showcases. So that was like the first place for people to look, and that video completely blew up. I think it's at like 90k or more now. Basically what I'm trying to say is this level blew the hell up and it got very big. It's the hardest 2-player level now, considering it is a akunakun level, and it's a pretty significant level in terms of the history of 2-player levels. Like, it being rated eventually is almost inevitable unless something weird happens. So now that me and Draconics had beaten UNB Crusher, now what's next? What do we do now? Since 2-player has gained a little bit of steam, like, how can we play off of that? What can we build off of? How can we go forward? Well, for us personally, what we plan to do is we're trying to beat every 2-player stream that's like actually 2 people. Not just like a tiny 2-player section within a level, but like what's actually classified in the 2-player list. I can put the qualifications on screen if you're interested, but it's a long list that I don't even remember right now. Basically, the gist of it is like a certain percentage of the level has to have 2-player. But anyways, the level that we're trying to beat next is Wobbling Machine, and we have like 61 on that. Eventually, I'm going to make a video compiling all of our completions once we're able to get at least majority of the extremes done. I mean, we already have majority done, but I mean like 1 or 2 left or something. But I'd rather get it out when we have all of them done, because I don't think I've seen anybody in the community beat every 2-player extreme before. I could be wrong, but I don't think that's happened ever. As for the general community, I think they're probably headed in the same way. But what this does bring up is how far the skill ceiling can be raised. Because when UNB Crusher is beaten, to be honest, if we were given more time to grind it, it could have been a lot harder. Like, we spent all this time practicing it, of course, but we only really spent like 2 or 3 days genuinely verifying it. So the real question is, how far are we able to bring this, and how hard are 2-player levels gonna get? And I'm not even just talking about like solo, because that's a whole nother can of worms, but I'm just talking about with 2 people, because it could get crazy. And we've already seen that present day, because my next point is Zoink Never Clear. If you haven't seen this level, it's completely crazy. Basically for Zoink Never Clear, it has a really early Geometry Dash hacker style theme to it, and it almost embodies that because the gameplay is completely out of this world. Like, to beat it with 2 people is probably at least top 50. And if you don't believe me, here's the amount of frame perfects in the level, and I'll just play a small little snippet of the level, what I consider the hardest part. So I hope you can see now why this level is so ridiculous, but to be honest, this milestone is not being reached for a very long time. Like, the amount of skill that's required to beat a level this difficult with just one person's side, it's already ridiculous, but to add on having to do it with another player at the very same time, the difficulty ramps up so far that's probably going to be like how Silent Club Step took forever to be beaten. Like, it'll just be a fun little challenge for a while until somebody can actually gain the skill with another person to actually do something on the level. So right now we have UNB Crusher and we have Zoink Never Clear, and that's where we're at for the very most difficult levels that are 2-player in this game. UNB Crusher is obviously possible for 2 people since me and Draconics verified it, and on top of that, Leah and Gecko also were first victors. Then past that we go to Zoink Never Clear, which is on the complete extreme end of the difficulty spectrum. In fact, it is so difficult that it has a $100 bounty for the first people to beat it with 2 people, and like a $1,000 bounty for the first person to beat it solo. It's completely ridiculous. What I'm trying to say is there is a huge gap between UNB Crusher and Zoink Never Clear. So if we really want to push how far 2-player can go in this game, we have to somehow bridge the gap. And I've already looked on the impossible levels list for maybe some 2-player levels that haven't been beaten, but any that are like at all viable are either too easy or it's like a very small part that wouldn't really be considered a full 2-player level. And majority of them, if not all of them, are completely unbalanced. So consider this my calling to any creators who want to build a 2-player level. We can definitely go harder than UNB Crusher. We just need the levels to do so. Now obviously things get busy for me and Draconics, so we can't just ensure that we're going to verify anything. But I've talked to him, he has a drive to verify these hard levels, and I definitely do. It obviously can't be anything insane, like we still have to be able to beat it within some sort of realistic time frame. But considering how much better the 2 of us have gone, I know we can do much better. And knowing how good this community is at the game, I know a lot of us can do better too. So not only is this a call for harder 2-player levels to be made, harder than UNB Crusher, this is also a call for any groups of 2 players who are interested in beating these very difficult levels. This is your chance to get together and make history. I don't want to try to make this seem a lot bigger than it may be, but I believe that if enough people pursued it, 2-player could actually be the future of Geometry Dash. Like, you have platformer players, you have challenge list players, you have demon list grinders, you even have like star grinders. There could be a world where we have 2-player grinders as well. We could have the 2-player solo list, and we could have a 2-player 2-people list, if that makes sense. Things get crazy in this game, but me and Draconics aren't able to do it on our own. We can help push it forwards, but it's up to the community to help make that happen. Anyways, with that, that's just my thoughts on 2-player and how far I think it can be pushed. There's definitely a lot of potential in this mode that I think many miss, but thankfully there are a few that have tried to pursue it and it has worked out. I loved playing UNB Crusher, and I think Zoink Never Clear is an amazing level on its own. Even though that level is completely impossible for anybody to beat right now, people still want to play it because of how fun it is. And in that same vein, I really enjoyed trying out the 2-player side of Zoink Never Clear just on my own. If it puts into better perspective how difficult that level is, my best run on that level is like 93 to 100, I think. And even then, that has a bunch of frame perfects, at least like 3 or 4. So like I said, we just need some way to bridge the gap. Anyways, I hope y'all enjoyed this video. If you have any opinions on this topic that you want to share in the comments, feel free to do so. I'll probably be talking about it down there too, responding to people. If you like this format of video, then hit that like button and subscribe because I plan on making a lot more videos soon. But anyways, with that, my rant's over, and I hope y'all all have a good day or night. Bye bye.